Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Scuffed Podcast, the show where two goofy teenagers dive into the chaos of their own lives and the hilarity of their high school. I'm Etienne, and my co-host here is Dean, and thank you, everybody, and welcome to the Scuffed Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode. It's been a minute that we've recorded together, kind of been busy with vacation and looking at colleges, and that's what we're going to be talking about today is my trip to Boston. I will kind of be leading today's episode a little bit more. Obviously Etienne normally does the intro here, but I figured we'd catch up, talk about the week, just talk about life before we jump into my trip to Boston and the crazy stories that came with that.
I mean, it has been a minute. I'm trying to think what the biggest things have been. I had a sit-down dinner with a president of a college I'm looking at because they absolutely love me. It was really cool because I actually got to talk to a physicist who works with supercomputers. And he takes his students out to work with particle accelerators, which, if you don't know, that's how you collide two atoms and make a new element for a little bit. It was also how the Germans figured out how to split an atom. Fun fact. I mean, it hasn't been too crazy. Man, just chilling. We had a physics test today that took 2 hours, and it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I was pretty happy with it. And I don't know. Life has been not too crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the 2-hour test for physics was not as easy for me. Well, especially because I just didn't understand one of the questions, and it was really dumb. But I'm pretty confident that I'll pass by with a B, and it'll be what it is. I guess of course, Etienne, you can always jump in with stories or questions as I kind of just go along. But I originally was planning to go to Boston to go see a college, Gordon College, which is a college that we've discussed before. And it's definitely somewhere where I've been looking at for a while, and I got invited into their honors program, so I was just like, hey, might as well just go see Honors Day and just go see Boston in general. There was definitely some miscommunication between me and my dad about just like when we were leaving, and so we ended up leaving a day later, which turned out to be a very big mistake. Because on the day we were leaving, which was last Saturday, it snowed in our area. And it wasn't, you can talk, just what was it for Colorado Springs? But in Denver, south of Denver, it was actually pretty chill. But east of Denver was terrible.
It was pretty snowy. I mean, I think in all we had maybe 5 inches. It was... Well, I remember initially looking at the weather, and it wasn't anything crazy, and it was actually supposed to end around noonish. And we had a hangout plan that day, and it was kind of a big thing. And I think it was like 2 hours before we initially decided everything that we finally said, all right, let's just get it. I guess that is something that did happen. So one of our friends, she claims that she can handle a lot of spice. And I do not doubt that. But at the New Year's party, she had some of Dean's dad's cocktail sauce, which he likes to call the red pill because of how much horseradish she puts in there. It clears out your sinuses. You feel awake. It's really good. And she dipped the corner of a wonton in it, and it's that's not that spicy. And I was like, okay, let's really see what's spicy now. And overall, it was just delicious food. We got some Buffalo Wild Wings. She made some authentic Indian food, which was really good. Our Hungarian friend brought some Hungarian stew, which was amazing. But then we tried the hottest wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, which contains Carolina Reapers and some other things. I called it devil's ball sack because it was disgusting and it was just hot. And guess who won? This guy. And I'm so proud of myself. I were talking. Oh, dang it. We were talking before, and while we were driving up there, he said, the pain is temporary. The bragging rights are forever. And I said, yes, I have to beat her no matter what I do. Because it's a white boy beating her. And she kept saying...
But you're not exactly fully white, though. You're, like, Turkish. You got
Middle
Eastern in you. Like,
yeah, I'm not
Middle Eastern spicy is pretty hot, dude.
I'm not you white, but, like, I'm pretty white, man. But nonetheless...
You come from Canada, crap. Oh.
Yeah, nerd. I'm white as hell. And it was so funny because she was like, "Oh, I could beat you in spice any day," and look how that turned out. I ate 3 of those wings and she only ate 2, and she tried to call it a draw, but like in chess, it's either win or lose. There is no draw. At least that's how I play it. I hate getting a draw in chess. I also hate when people are like, "Oh, yeah," they just give up instead of letting me checkmate them. That's the worst. But nonetheless,
you don't get the satisfaction.
You don't get the satisfaction of a true mate. It's really annoying. But nonetheless, Dean wasn't there, unfortunately, and he can't handle spice at all, so it would have been fun to watch him die.
Oh, thank God.
Or
not there.
Our Hungarian friend, she's never had wings, and she loves wings now. And of course I had to take her recording and say, look at what America's done to Europeans. And I said it's for the better. So that was pretty funny. But let's see what Dean has to say.
Well, first of all, B-dubs has nothing compared to my dad's wings.
That is true.
Just putting that out there. Fight me in the comments if you want. But I guess to get into where we left off, snowy, really bad weather. And so we got our flight. Had a little run-in at security, because I unfortunately, the pomade that I brought, you normally can bring like a small container, and it was pretty small, but it had hardened, due to how like cold it was, and it weighed more than like whatever the liquid amount is for the TSA, and so I had to toss that, which was tough, but we eventually got to our gate, and then we're kind of just waiting, and then 30 minutes before we're going to leave, it's like, oh, an hour delay. Well, there's nothing much we can do about it. I guess we just chill here, and then another 20 minutes goes by, and then it gets announced that, oh wait, it's a full 3 hours delay now. And so we were just like, well, crap, it looks like it's going to be canceled. And luckily, we were kind of on that assumption pretty quick, because 30 minutes later, it got canceled. And so we were able to find another plane relatively fast that was going to Boston, and we got there, we're just chilling, and it doesn't leave for 3, so we got another like 2 hours wait. So I called Etienne, called some of our other friends, just talked, joked, just contemplated life, read my book. I posted on the internet, on Instagram. I hardly ever post anything on my Instagram, especially my story. And I ended up like posting like 7 things that day because I was just that bored. And then I guess to talk about one of the more scarier parts of the trip was the plane ride. Now, normally, I don't know about you, Etienne, but I sleep pretty well on flights, on airplanes. Like, I can do that. It's a gift, for sure, because not a lot of people can do it, and it just makes the time fly by so fast. But we got to our seats. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to take a good nap as soon as we lift off. And then a dude who doesn't smell the greatest, he kind of wobbly sits down. He's just like, oh, excuse me. And he was just chatting, and he was just like, so where are you all from? We're just like, oh, we're here. We're just flying out to Boston. He was just like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm flying out for Boston. I was here in Colorado." His voice sounded exactly like this. It was so hoarse. It's just like, "Yeah, no, I'm flying out to Boston. I was here for a bachelor's party." And I was just like, "Oh, that explains that weird scent. That's like 12 drinks I can smell off you there." It was just like, and you could tell like he hadn't showered, like he was very deceived. Like it looked like he was hungover, just got up and then went to the airport. Like there was no cleanliness in him, and he smelled terrible.
Ugh.
And while I'm not going to say he was drunk,
Well,
because
now.
but you could tell like he was not in his right sense.
What?
And keep in mind, this guy said he was an attorney. I was just like, I pray to God none of those videos get leaked of your bachelor's party. Because it looks like you had a really good night. But that night looks like it could get you fired. And then he did like the one thing, like my dad told me this when I had my first plane ride. He was just like, don't ever do this. And that was to unbuckle and get up to go to the bathroom as soon as the plane was going to lift off. I kid you not. As soon as we're like starting to get onto the airway, he's just like, I gotta go to the bathroom. He stands up. I was just like, I just stare at this dude like, dude, what the hell are you doing? We're about to take off. And he's just like, yep, I'm just going to go. And so he bolted, and I remembered I was just like, all right, I'm just going to ignore him. I just popped my earbuds, closed my eyes, and we just took off. But I didn't see that guy for like another 10 minutes, and I think either my dad or somebody must have like noticed him, because he came back, and he was just like, hey, can I get my luggage? And I was just like, yeah, sure. So I gave him the luggage by his feet. And then a flight attendant guided him by the arm. And so I think like either somebody like snitched on him, either my dad or some other passenger, but he just had to be escorted like he was in timeout. It was just like, that's embarrassing, especially if you're an attorney in your late 20s. But hey, it is what it is. And then I just remembered I could not sleep well on that flight because like the seat just smelled like alcohol. Yeah. You got anything so far?
Not thus far. I mean, I haven't had anything that similar, but I remember there was one flight I had. I think it was, to Boston or something. I think the way there, I remember it being kind of miserable. Because we had... So I've also been to Boston. Love it there. And I remember my mom and I were sitting in DIA, and John Elway, the football MVP, Hall of Famer, he has a couple restaurants. He has a steakhouse. And our flight wasn't until 1 in the morning or something. We tried to do late flights because you don't have to go through any security, just bolt right through. And my mom and I were super tired. And we were there in our PJs, and we were like, oh, man, we haven't had any food. So, Mom and I walking into Elway's, a nice steakhouse, and we just sat down in, like sweatpants. Like, we looked so disheveled. And we're like, let's get some food. And that was a good meal. I must say, that actually went pretty hard. Just eating at a fancy restaurant in the crappiest clothes possible. Not a bad meal at midnight.
I mean, it's shit, I can't say, but it's kind of just where it is. Oh, yeah. Know? Like I'd expect they've seen people dressed way worse there.
Well, it's like ain't no way I'm gonna dress up to go to the freaking airport, bro. I'm dressing comfy if I'm gonna go on a flight.
Yeah,
I don't like business or something, but
I don't understand people who do that.
Wear a freaking suit? I ain't doing that to get on a flight, bro.
It's so funny that you mention it, because I guess we'll get to this eventually. But it wasn't super eventful, the flight back to Boston to where we live. I kid you not, there was some dude in a suit, but he was wearing, like, sandals. It wasn't like sandals, it was like, you couldn't see his dogs, but you could see, like, the rest of his, like, foot. Like, it was almost like slippers or something, but he was just like wearing a full on like really nice suit, and it was just like, what is that drip, bruh? That is not it. And so we get there, and keep in mind, like, due to time zones and everything, like, we left at 4, and we didn't get there until midnight.
Well, yeah, I think that's like a 6-hour long flight, and then, 2-hour time difference.
Mm-hmm. It was brutal. Could not sleep, really could not relax at all, because for whatever reason, it is what it is, but my dad got tickets that's like right by the engine, and that's the loudest part of the plane, dude. I was so sad I could not fall asleep. And so that was definitely probably the toughest part of the trip, to be honest. But we get to the car. Luckily, the dude there, Caleb, chill guy, dude. He was like making jokes. He's just like, yeah, crazy people at the airport, yada yada yada. Let's just get one of the nicest cars that you can rent for like the same price as like a regular.
What did you get?
It was like a 2021 like Nissan like Equinox or something.
Nice. I got to ride a Tesla. That was actually my first time in Tesla.
It was just, that thing sounded so nice. I probably butchered the car and whatever. But me and my dad get to the hotel, like, it is late, like, we both crash, and it's until, like, 8, we both wake up, and it's, like, another 30 minutes, my dad's like, you want to get breakfast, son? I was just like, yeah. And so we got coffee, and then the food at the breakfast, I didn't dislike, but it was also just, like, I've had better stuff, but, hey, it was kind of just a hotel breakfast. What else can you expect?
We gotta go to the right places. I mean, I remember before I visited Boston University, there was a little coffee shop, and it was really cool. There was like chickadees. It was like almost like fairy tale. Like, it was a cool little coffee shop. I remember it was expensive though. It was like $15 for a piece of toast. I mean, it was like good toast.
$15.
It was like, I think it was like $12 or $15 for, like, it was a solid breakfast. It was like coffee and toast, cream cheese, like salmon, that kind of deal. Ooh. Capers. It was actually really good.
That's still the deal there then.
Yeah, it was good. And plus also like fresh seafood, because where we live, like, the seafood's good, but like it's not on the coast good, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
I did have seafood, and I can describe that experience because, like, I thought normally people just exaggerate when it's just like, food here isn't as good. I was just like, well, okay, I'm down to try it. And so that was one of the things I was going to be exploring while I was in Boston is the seafood, as famed as it is. Mm-hmm. And so me and my dad, we both look up some places, and we're just like, you want to hit up some really good history spots? So we're just like, yeah, sure. And then me and we first saw Bunker Hill.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, I don't know what it was about that place, but there was something so majestic, and just to think, like, there's obviously buildings surrounding it now, but just, like, to imagine what that must have been like with no buildings, like, flat landscape, smoke in the air, like, you can see the harbor and, like, where the Boston ships could have landed with their soldiers, like, it was such a surreal experience just out of that, like, one hill.
Oh, yeah.
It was very cool. Have you been to Bunker Hill? Mm-hmm. Alright. I'm gonna give that in. Hold on.
I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, the history is cool there. I think something that is just so different is here it's a lot of mountains, a lot of open ranges. And there it's a lot of small towns and very forested. There's also a lot lower elevation, so that's kind of nice. My day in Boston was cool though, because I got to see Harvard, I got to see a lot of history. I remember that was the best clam chowder I ever had. Well, we went to this restaurant that was built like I think it was like 1850 or something. And it was pretty much the same initial structure, and it was so good. And what all did we get? I think we got calamari. We got so much seafood there. And also got tiramisu. Oh,
Ooh.
so good.
I really want to try that, but unfortunately I was not in Boston for long enough.
Oh, dude.
I've heard so many good things.
Well, you know, of course, there's like Fenway, and it's just Boston's such a cool city.
I'm so upset that I didn't get to see Fenway. I saw.
And you're a baseball nerd.
I know too.
I'm not.
I saw the Garden, and since the Garden was like right on the.
Yeah.
It was close by like the Freedom Trail.
It's Boston's a really special place. I remember what was also cool about that day was that was the first time I went to a Michelin star restaurant, and ooh-wee, you got this beautiful view of the ocean, and that was my first time eating oysters. Wait, Dean, did you have oysters?
I did, yes. Mm-hmm.
Oysters are so good there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved oysters. Also, lobster roll. That was the first time I had lobster, but like that lobster was so.
Alright, sorry for that slight delay. Had a little interruption. But now, we went to go see the USS Constitution Museum. And it is so cool being on that ship. I know, like, very few of the original parts from, like, when it was first built in the late 1700s. It's still there. But it's just crazy to think, like, all the history on that ship. And to think, like, that's where Francis Scott Key, national anthem,
National anthem. I think what's also crazy is just... I remember when we were flying in, my mom was like, oh yeah, that's where the Boston Tea Party happened. And it was just... I think that's something that's so wild about the East Coast is there's so much history there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I always think it's kind of cool to go, especially in Europe and things, to stand in places where massive changes in history happened. At, you know, especially Boston. I think that's just crazy. You know, Paul Revere and that. It's just... It's such a cool city, though. I love it.
Yep. Man. And then we also, saw the Boston Tea Party. And that place was interesting for sure. So, what the museum kind of was that they would take you on first-person experience tours. So you got to be, like, taking apart in, like, trees, and then you got to toss tea off. And you just, like... It is such a surreal experience. Like, they've got actors, like, or tour guides leading you along through, like, the ship and, like, the Boston Harbor, and they're telling you all these amazing facts. Like, Samuel Adam was there, and then they had a couple people do, like, lines in order to express something. So, for example, my dad had this character who was angry at the Stamp Act, and apparently, according to his character's lore, his brother had to go bankrupt because he couldn't pay, like, the Stamp Tax Act, and he just couldn't pay for all that. And so it was definitely interesting, but, like, and the tea that you tossed off were, like, these tiny tea leaves stored in, like, these floating, like, cardboard boxes. It smelled awful, but you just got to, like, toss them off, and then, like, they've got ropes attached to it, so that'll come back, so that they can, like, fish it back in.
It smells disgusting. It's just seawater. That makes so much more sense. When you explained it to me, it's like, oh, I must be some bad tea. But yeah, that makes so much more sense. It's sea, dude. It's disgusting water.
Mm-hmm. Just think, like, how much stuff that is still in there. And then we were kind of, like, going through the tour, and then their technology didn't work. They were, like, had videos of, like, people talking, like, they had, like, some sort of, like, debate. You know, like, in Hogwarts, like, the portraits talk to each other? Yeah. They had, like, a full-on, like, 10-minute conversation between King George III and Ben Franklin about, like, political freedom and how America should be free and tyranny and all of that. But the funny thing is that it was all muted, so you could, like, hear their mouths just
You just see it.
Yeah, you could just like see them. You can lip read them, but there was no sound coming from it. And so the tour guide, God bless his soul, he was so good at his job. He was just, he stayed in character. He was just like, all right, let me get on this weird device thing to communicate that we need help. It was actually pretty funny, but then they couldn't get it to fix, and so they were just like, yeah, no, you'll unfortunately have to pay for the tour. But at that point, it was like 90% of the way over, and they were just like, yeah, you can get a full refund. So me and my dad got most of the tour, and we got all of our money back. Because I remember it was expensive. It was like $25 for a ticket for each person. So it was like $50 in total, and we just got all that back.
Hey, that's another meal, bro.
And then we went to... Shoot, I want to give them a good shout out because the seafood was so good there. I had oysters, clam chowder.
That's where you gotta eat it.
And then we had like this shrimp.
Wait. Did you have a Boston cream in Boston?
Boston cream. Shoot.
Bro!
There was so much I had to do, okay?
There's a Dunkin' Donuts every 2 feet, bro. It's not that hard.
Yeah. The Chart House.
Chart House, okay.
Great area. And then I had like this peach sparkling cider like mocktail. That was fire. It made a great combination with that and the clam chowder.
I can imagine.
Like it was like a sweet, savory, and then like once you had washed it down, like you got like a beautiful like tangy, sweet peach, cold. Oh, dude. And like both me and my dad at that point, like we were hungry, but we weren't starving. But like the food, like the bowls they served it in were just the right size, dude. So good. And then we had like a shrimp cocktail. They made pretty good sauces as well. My dad was impressed. It was just like, this is the good stuff.
Boston knows what it's doing. I gotta give him that any day of the week.
And then
what'd you think about Dunkin'? Did you have Dunkin' over there?
I did not.
Oh, bro, you gotta Dunkin' on the East Coast, man. It's so good.
I mean, if I go there, I'll definitely have plenty of chances to go to Dunkin', but it was also just expensive. I was like looking at their menu through the store, and it was just like, you can grab 2 donuts and a cup of coffee for it was just like, yeah, hell no, bro. Hell no, bro.
That station in Boston's expensive. Mm-hmm. Did you go to what's it called? I think it's called Fenway Hall. It's like, it's just a bunch of like little pop-up shops, but everything there is off-brand. Like, it's pretty iconic if you've ever lived in Massachusetts or Boston. So, that was kind of nostalgic for my mom. And it was funny to see because they have like all these, they have off-brand versions of these like big-name brands. Gucci. So it's like really goofy off-brand too. It's like what you imagine, like Wish or something. It was pretty funny. But yeah. So, how did your college visit go?
Getting to that there, but a couple more things I wanted to shout out was Paul Revere's house and then the Freedom Trail. Both were beautiful to see. And then we also saw the Episcopal Church, which is where Paul Revere hung the 2 lanterns. And most of the original building is still there to this day. So, like, it was an old building. But still beautiful nevertheless. And then kind of to get to the Gordon part, so I stayed overnight Sunday to Monday. And so my overnight host, if he ever listens to this podcast, Keenan, you were excellent. But he was just awesome. And so we toured the campus, just kind of talked about life, get to know each other. And then we met up with 2 of his friends, and then one of his friends' overnight host, and then a girl who was looking at the track team. And me and her kind of just started hitting it off, and then we went on campus. They've got like this old bar type thing called Chester's, and they've got like the whole style of it too. It looks like a legit bar, but it's non-alcoholic drinks, and it's mostly a place where students can just study and relax. But I just remembered my host just like, yeah, you want a drink, dude? And then I got like a cranberry lime mocktail. Very good. Kind of just classic route, but still very good nevertheless. Mm-hmm. And then kind of just the vibe that night was we played Crazy 8, on Game Pigeon. And so I think we did like 15 games.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just, oh man, it was such a vibe. We were just laughing, talking. And I love the student life there. If you just find the right people to hang out with, especially in a definitely larger than Bugatti campus, like it was an awesome place, and you just got to choose the right people to hang out with.
Of course.
But yeah, that was a really good night. And then we did this thing called Catacombs, which is like this glow-in-the-dark youth group, and they have like candles and like floating lanterns. Very beautiful, and I think the theme was just like singing hymns, and after that, like you took 10 minutes to just meditate and pray. Oh, dude, that was the most relieving part of the trip, was just that experience, dude. Just genuinely beautiful, and just being able to connect with God on that level. So nice. And then kind of played some more games. Got the track girl's number. And keep in mind, like, I know it sounds like I'm trying to rizz her up. Definitely was not going on this trip to look for a girlfriend, but I could tell, like, when me and her just met and started talking, like, I knew, like, yeah, we're going to be friends, we're going to be chill. Turns out she was awesome. Shout out if she ever listens to this. But I mean, I kind of want to hear more about the Spice Night. I'm curious. You haven't been able to talk much.
I mean, the Spice Night wasn't... Well, so it was interesting getting up there, because, Dean typically drives me places, but another friend who lives pretty close, 10 minutes away, not that far at all. Mm-hmm. It took him 20 minutes to get to my house, and he doesn't live far at all.
And he speeds.
And he's a bit more on the aggressive side of a driver, for sure. So we hopped in the car, and we were going slow because it's just a sheet of ice, dude.
You gotta go slow.
But then we were going to B-Dubs, and we walked in, and we were like, can we have... Well, because the entrance fee was bring a meal, and Grady like, well, why don't we just split wings? And Grady and I, being smart, were like, well, we should probably actually get some good wings, so we got barbecue. But we just looked at the spiciest one. It was called the Annihilator. It was something wild. But it took 30 minutes. Dude.
That's what
Grady and
B-Dubs does. They take forever.
We left my house like 30 minutes before. And, we were thinking, okay, it doesn't take too long to get to our friend's place. We were thinking, all right, 20 minutes. 10 minutes to get some wings. Can't be that bad. 30 minutes. We were trying to... I think we had to be there at 6, and we left B-Dubs at like 6:10 or 6:20 or something. Mm-hmm. It was so stupid. But then, we had it was such a fun talk. We were just talking about life on the way up, and, I've become pretty good friends with him, obviously. But
talking with him, especially just like car ride, chill,
he's
or like hammocking. Awesome.
Homie, if you ever listen to this, we love you. You're hype.
Hey, we might have him on the podcast soon.
That's facts. That's facts. Sneak peek. And then, we got up there freaking 30 minutes later. It took so long because it was initially raining earlier in the day, but then when it actually got down to below freezing, all that water was just a sheet of ice, dude. There were a couple turns we made, and the back kicked out.
Oh, God.
It wasn't much. It was like anything crazy. But you could just feel that little bit. It freaked us out every single time. Not fun. But terrifying, we finally got up there, and it was fun. It was... So our friend was like, okay. What was funny is... So our short friend, I'm gonna call her our short friend because she is short. Know this. Hey, you can't say that, bro. Gotta bleep that.
Oh shoot, yeah.
She brought something that she thought was spicy. It's called the bitch sauce, and it was the most mild thing. I've had guacamole spicy. Dude, it was the most mild crap I've ever had. She also got some jalapeno poppers. I love jalapeno poppers. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't handle these. It tasted like bell pepper. It was not spicy, and it was good, but it wasn't spicy at all. So that just goes to show how she handles spice. And we initially were like, all right, how do we do this? And a couple of our other friends couldn't be there, which was sad. We had a good turnout, and it was all such good food. But we started out with this. We started with the soup, and it was so delicious. Shout out to my Hungarian friend.
Oh man, she makes good food too.
And then we had.
I miss that, bro.
But it was like I said, we had wings, and she was like, "I've never had wings," and so, I mean, it was just funny because she quote unquote hates Americans, and of course she loves wings, which is I think one of the most American foods you can have. So of course that was a monumentous moment for the American me. For the two red-blooded Americans in here, that was a big moment. And it was just a lot of fun, and I think. But the funny thing is, so the Pocky One Chip Challenge, which Dean and I did a while ago, I was expecting it to be that bad, and it was not as bad. It didn't last as long.
Okay, yeah.
But okay, I handled the spice pretty well, and there were a couple extra wings. I was like, all right. Well, it was funny, she offered a draw. I was like, no, I have to win. I have to freaking win this. So I had a third wing, but our Hungarian friend, she was like, why do I use her? Everything is so hot. And our friend, she also only got half a gallon of milk, which is hardly enough to go around. So
God, no. Especially with that many white people in there. Ain't no way a half gallon milk.
It did. I mean, but that was the rule.
2 gallons of milk would barely get you.
I think it was 1 cup of milk. If you went past that, you were out. Or if you wanted more, you were out.
Oh gosh.
And we all survived, and our Hungarian friends were like, I don't handle spice well. I have to eat these 2 wings, and we all did. But she was like, she was covering her ears, and it was no hate, but it was really funny how she handled the spice. Where everyone else that was there, apart from our short friend, the elf, she didn't have any, but everyone else ate them, and we were kind of sitting there like we were hurting. But then eventually our Hungarian friend, she just grabbed a bunch of ice, and my hands were covered in that spicy sauce. And so I was just hold my hand out, and she was just handing me an ice cube. It was a very funny night.
Awesome.
There were some pictures of us in pain, and it was... Well, then our friend's brother, I love that man. He's so funny. She was like, oh yeah, he can handle spice a lot better than I can. And he was also hurt. I was expecting him to eat and be like, oh, no reaction. He was hurting too. So, I'm proud of that fact that I'm not that white. But then we watched The Matrix afterwards, and our elf friend, she was like, oh my god, this movie's so stupid. It's unrealistic. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's a freaking computer program. It's The Matrix. Yeah, of course it's unrealistic.
We were texting because on the drive there, it was like 30 minutes, because especially there was like traffic at like 11:30 at night from the airport, and I guess that's to be expected with the city, but it was also just bruh. And so I was on my phone, and me and her were just texting, and I was just checking up on the spice night. And then I forgot how exactly I phrased it, but she told me, yeah, no, Etienne won. I was just like, yeah, no, tell him from me to not be a bragging little bitch.
Yeah, why? That's like the entire reason I did it. You know this, Dean. It was so stupid. Well, yeah, our elf friend, she was like, yeah, Dean told you not to be bragging about it. I was like hell, I didn't go through all that pain to not get bragging rights. Of course I'm going to brag. I'm going to brag to our friend about it. I mean, she was the one who said she can handle spice. I beat her. And of course, all of our friends were like, oh, I'm betting my money on her. Guess who won? This guy. I'm still so proud of myself, even though it wasn't really that bad.
I mean, you eventually took an L at the night to that video.
What video? Oh, yeah. Shut up. I was not going to hit a woman.
It's the elf, bro!
Crap. Yeah, so our elf friend is beating us up with pillows. But we're also reading a philosopher by the name of Descartes right now. And in his meditations, he talked about the possibility of we living in a dream, and we refer to it as the Matrix. It was kind of funny. Watching that movie back, I didn't realize how philosophical it was. Like, obviously, it's just such a guy film, you know. Yeah. It's so much CGI, and it's just such an action-packed movie. But there is some philosophy in it, which I think was kind of interesting looking back. And, you know, making all the Matrix references now during our discussions has been pretty funny. Even our teacher joins in. He's like, what's the red pill in this situation? Okay, if we'd have Morpheus here, it's great. It's great. I love it. Well, what's funny is the girls, they tried to make it, and the teachers were like, no, you can't do that. You have to ask permission to make a pop culture reference.
That's the same thing.
Well, the principal, T-Bone. With the other guys' class, while their T-Bone was gone, he was talking about the Matrix. I just think it's funny how the principal doesn't even care if we talk about the Matrix with Descartes. But
no, he was just like, this is the one, only one pop culture reference you will ever hear me make. So you all know the Matrix, right?
It was a good time. I mean, well, what's funny is the girls, they were like, oh yeah, that's what, because we were initially going to watch Oppenheimer. But it was kind of getting late, and so they were like, oh yeah, let's watch The Matrix. And then by the end of it, they're like, oh my gosh, that's such a stupid movie. It's like, you're the one who chose it. I love that movie, but you're the people who chose it. You can't say you hate a movie that you picked and that you've seen.
You got defensive when
you better not hate on the Matrix, especially when your taste is Pride and Punishment. And Darcy, bro, Charlotte was based. She did not care about who loved her. If anything, I resonate with Charlotte all throughout that book. Screw Darcy. He was so cringe. Shut up, Darcy. Man up.
Bro just went on a 30-second rant about Pride and Prejudice.
I read that book and I hated every single second of it.
Oh, same, dude. Same.
That was
god-awful to read during quarantine.
Apart from Charlotte, that was the one base character out of the entire book. She was like, screw love life. I was like, hell yeah. You got it down right, man. That was great.
Damn straight, bro.
Damn straight. But, I mean, we watched the movie, and they're like, oh my gosh, the CGI is horrible. Brother, that was made in, 1990s? And, like, that was so revolutionary. That's why you have your freaking Marvel that you're so obsessed with nowadays. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they hate on The Matrix. Yes. What was so funny is, after they were done watching The Matrix, our elf friend was like, well, ladies, all the feminism in my body has just left.
That's a W.
It was so funny. I mean, that is like such a guy film, but it was a fun night. I'm really glad we did it, and it was just so goofy. We are all in pain. That was one thing. Like, my lips hurt so much after eating those wings. There's some pictures of me afterwards, and I'm like, there is hot sauce everywhere. But that was Spice Night. That was Boston. If anyone ever needs a place to go to, I highly recommend Boston. It's very cool. A lot of good seafood, a lot of good things.
I mean, honors program, honors day, it was good.
Honors day,
but it was a little personal for me because, like, actually no. There's one more thing I kind of want to talk about. So you before lunch or after, depending on your schedule, there was like 100 students there. It was massive, especially like with their parents and families and stuff. Like it was pretty jam packed. But we had to do this one exercise, and so it actually was kind of a lot of fun. I'd be interested to try it with our friend group, perchance.
Oh gosh!
But you look up the 17 most pressing problems in the world, and so it gives you something from like better quality education to like bad infrastructure or better infrastructure, and then like climate change, every justice, peace, good cooperation. And so the goal is that assuming you could pick any two, and depending on whatever two you get, whatever you chose would be able to realistically solve every other problem in the world, or every other problem on that list, I should say.
Interesting.
And so the point was to discuss with 10 to 15 people on which two would you choose.
Huh.
And it actually was a really interesting discussion. It was funny because you got to see like other people's personalities play out because you're on a time crunch. So you're only given like 10 minutes to discuss something that has taken people hours upon hours to just even come close to being able to agree upon. And so you've got to discuss and think, all right, which one do you want to go to? So I kind of stepped back and kind of just made comments and proposed ideas. And I think people valued my input because whenever I talked, like, it was always a ruckus of noise. But whenever me and a couple other people with good insight talked, everybody listened to us. And I have to say, as a Bugatti student, I was quite proud.
I mean, that's kind of the Bugatti thing, though.
True. And then there was this one girl who put my travels to shame because she came all the way from Honolulu,
What?
Hawaii,
Yeah.
to go to Gordon.
That's.
I was just like, I don't know how you heard about the college, but dang, props to you, I guess.
Yeah,
But
for real.
she reminded me so much of. Like, she was
Really?
she was a total girl boss. Like,
Yeah.
she took charge of the conversation, and she was, like, talking, bringing up ideas, while she organized, like, all the material we were given about the 17 problems.
Okay.
She was organizing them, she was thinking, she was reading, and she was, like, all doing this, like, she was such a good leader, and I was just, like, there was a couple kids that were, like, trying to be, like, main characters when they just didn't have good insight, and I was just like, guys, you gotta let her cook because she will make us all look good.
Okay.
And so I was thinking, like, if she and ever met, should I have to believe that?
Yeah, we can
Crap.
just say E or something.
When she and if she and E ever got together, like,
Maybe just
they would be able to
power
solve
couple.
anything.
What's funny is, so, E recently has been like, okay, if I put any girl in the guys' class, they would be instant valedictorian. And I don't do my homework. I don't care. And I'm a smart guy. Like, I get A's and B's, mostly A's. Like, I obviously do work when necessary, but I do the bare minimum. And it was literally just me. I was the only guy there today. And all the girls were like, yeah, I mean, if I did this, none of the guys are hardworking. And then they look over me like, well, except you Etienne, you and I think all of our guy friends are really hard workers. Like,
Oh, bull.
I literally just sat there. I was like,
I'm willing.
yeah, you're right. I put all my work. I can't remember the last time I sat down to do my homework. Well, and of course, our elf friend, she snapped me the other day with doing her advanced math topics. We're doing like modular math or something right now, modular arithmetic.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what are you doing? And she was like, math? I'm like hell, I'm doing that. So I know my true work ethic, which is next to none. At least when I don't care. Like, I'm already in my colleges. The senioritis kicked in, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna bake, hang out with friends, and not do homework. So nothing feels better than walking into school knowing that you did nothing that you should have done.
And then, I guess one more idea that we could talk about, because we've hit like 50 minutes-ish so far. But we talked about this yesterday when we were driving to Dutch Bros. But kind of to bring it up to the podcast is that the founder of Gordon College, A.J. Gordon,
Is a bit of a kooky guy.
he's a bit of an interesting guy, great theologian. His theology books are actually quite good, quite inspiring. But he had his autobiography, And one of the things he's most well known for is that he was a believer in the coming of Christ before the millennial happened. So the 2000s. And so the reason why he first started believing in this was because he had a dream. And so in his dream, he's talking to a very demotivated Christ church that's having trouble with just believers believing and doing the right thing. So every week, he's trying to give these amazing S-tier sermons. And so, like, he couldn't do it. But one Sunday, when he's just trying to get up and just preach and be an S-tier pastor again, he notices a stranger. And the stranger has a very stoic look and just very quiet, but you can tell he's a very deep thinker. So the stranger looks around, hoping to get offered a seat at a pew, and a gentleman who's just like, yeah, here, take my seat. And so the gentleman quietly accepts it, and something about the stranger catches A.J. Gordon's eyes. And for the entirety of the sermon, he just cannot take his eyes off the stranger. And so he plans on greeting and introducing himself to the stranger, hoping to know who he is. But when he was done with his sermon, and he was trying to be very efficient, the stranger had already left. Sorry, my friend just showed me a meme. That's funny. That's so true, though. Oh shoot! Now you got me off track. But we were just, crap.
A.J. Gordon was a goofy guy.
Yeah. And so he goes up to the gentleman, that's where I was. He's just like, do you happen to know who that was? And the gentleman just stands and was just like, you don't know who that was? That was Jesus Christ. And so apparently that's where he got the motivation to just talk about Christ. And he believed that he may or may not have had a prophetic vision. I guess 200 years still isn't out of reach for him, because 1850, 2050 could realistically still happen. Doubt it. But you never know with God. But I think that's kind of the episode for today. Boston, Spice Night, weekends, fun school, Bugatti stuff. You got anything else to add?
I mean, I don't know. I think moral of the story today, go out, have some adventures, have some fun with your life. Because it's been a lot of fun talking about today, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to today's episode. We have socials linked in our Spotify bio. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them, and we'll discuss them in the next one. See you guys.